recognize distractions in disguise. First, let me just say, this conversation is specifically for leaders of all kinds. So if you're a parent, you're a leader in the home, this applies to you. Maybe in a different way, this applies to you. But mostly tonight, I'm going to be talking to leaders of businesses, community leaders, leaders of your own life. Whatever you're leading in, this is for you. So, this conversation is going to be uncomfortable for probably most of you. Just give me a little warning right now. Uncomfortable, but extremely beneficial if you apply it. So, we all know what distractions are. You don't need to hear me preach at you saying, make sure you're focusing on your goal. Don't do the things that aren't a part of your goal. Focus, focus, focus. We've all heard that 1,000,000 times, and it is actually true. I've taught it myself on here. Saying no to your yes, it's the same concept. However, what I notice that people have the problem with is recognizing when those distractions are present, evident, and working in your life. So that's what we're going to focus on. So we all know not to make business deals that aren't aligned with our vision. You know, we know that already. But here's the thing. We need to take that same principle and apply it to our personal lives. Yes, your personal life. When you separate your personal life and your business, professionally we need to, but mentally we don't. That's reality. Because you, the human being, are everywhere you go. So when you're at work, that same mindset that you have already is operating. Because it's you. It's your mind, right? So we sometimes, the principles of life don't change, the details do. So how you apply something in a business setting and how you apply it in a personal setting, they can, and most of the time, sometimes should be different. However, the same, not all, but most principles that work for business also work for life. We just get too caught up in emotion to recognize it. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. So I'm going to use the analogy of a garden. So your leadership, your mission, your goal, it's like a garden. You are intentionally trying to grow. So you're trying to grow a garden. Obviously, if you have a patch of land, that's not a garden. Your leadership and your mission is a garden you're trying to grow. Your main crop, which is your business, your church, your community center, your household, your family's future, your legacy, whatever that is for you. That's your main crop. Your main crop needs focus, it needs your water, and it needs your sunlight. Let's talk about what that actually means. But distractions are like weeds in your garden. The obvious ones, like the obvious weeds in the garden of our lives are, things like pointless meetings, bad business deals. Those are easy to pull. Like I said, we already know that. But the dangerous weeds are the ones that have beautiful flowers on them. Oh, I like dandelions. Dandelions are weeds. They're not good for your garden. They do have other good uses, but they're not good in a garden. I'm just using that as an example. There's lots of other weeds out there, but that's the first one that comes to mind. So maybe a horticulturist will have some other ideas. You can comment. But so your garden needs the weeds removed, because if you have weeds in your garden, what's going to happen? It's going to choke the good fruit that you're trying to produce. I know you're following me here. The dangerous weeds that look like beautiful flowers sometimes look like priorities, or things that we should make a priority, and we make them a priority. Not everything we make a priority should be a priority. Things that feel like obligations, and sometimes they're well-intended distractions. Now, some of the distractions I'm going to talk about today, sometimes they are well-intended, but they are still distractions because they are choking your fruit. They are choking your plant in the garden you're trying to grow. It's the beautiful flowering weed of a committee that you said yes to out of guilt. It's the impressive looking vine from a social obligation that does nothing for your mission. I wanted you to take a moment and think about that right now. Actually, when I'm done, I want you to think about everything I'm saying right now, and I'm going to give you an assignment to do with it. But that impressive looking vine, I'm going to say it again, that impressive looking vine from a social obligation that does nothing for your mission. Sometimes we get too wrapped up in social obligations. For what? For what? I really want you to ask yourself that question. How many social obligations do I have? Do I need to be obligated to all of those? Some might be yes for the sake of your business. I guarantee you most of them will be no. Some might be yes for the sake of my sanity. I would consider that more of a hobby and more of a getaway, but you might categorize it under social obligations. But I want you to ask yourself that question. You can spend so much time watering these pretty weeds that your main crop, your true purpose, your true role, what you're trying to accomplish, withers from neglect. I'm going to say that again. You can spend so much time watering these pretty weeds, these unnecessary distractions, that your main crop, your true purpose, your goal, what you're trying to accomplish, withers away from neglect. Let's talk about some examples of what that looks like. The family fixer. And some of you, this is you. Are you constantly pulled into fixing other people's drama? They always run into you. This one said that. My husband is this, and they always run into you with that. You might have some compassion. You might be big-hearted, like me. And so you make the foolish mistake of always giving in to that. That's a weed. If someone comes to you and they need your advice, and it's not an everyday situation with them, and they just simply need a lending ear for the moment, nothing wrong with that. That's not a waste. Be there for them. But if they're coming to you over and over again, and you know they are not willing to do what they need to do to change the situation, they are not trying to solve their problem, they're just trying to whine about it, that is a weed. That is a giant weed that will choke out everything you're trying to grow. You're going to plant a seed, that weed's going to go and dig it up because you are wasting your time and your energy on something that they don't want to change. Now, if someone wants to, absolutely be there for them. But this is an example because this is something that those of us with big hearts do. And by the way, this what I'm talking to you about tonight, I'm guilty of all of it. Okay? I have been guilty of all of it. And the reason I can teach it to you now is because I've had to learn in my own personal life. I've had to have some of these experiences to come to the realization of this. So I'm not just talking out of concept or something I read in a book somewhere. This is stuff that I know because I've lived it. And maybe not a family fixer, but other people's fixer. And I have been that because I'm the person that people come to for advice. They come to when they need a lending ear and all of that. And I don't mind being that for people. But if you're just trying to just I'm not wasting my time on you. So I've learned that they're energy vampires, even though they may genuinely not be trying to be that. So let me just also say that doesn't automatically make them a jerk or a bad person. It makes them immature and a waste of time. A waste of your time until they decide they want change and you can offer them the advice that will help them get there. That is a different situation. But if you have a situation where they're always in your ear and they're not really trying to change, like I said, move on. You need to put a stop to that. And your emotions might be wrapped up in it because you don't want to hurt their feelings. Sometimes you are going to have to hurt people's feelings. And I'm not saying that you should try to do that. I'm saying that it's a fact that it's going to happen if you're doing things right. It is inevitable, one way or the other, when you have to put a stop to it. You could say it in your own way. I'm blunt, but you don't have to be as blunt as me. That's my personality. You might be softer with it. but people who know you know what you're saying. So say it in the way that works for you, but say it. Say it. Definitely say it and do it. Another one, and this is a big one. I hope y'all listening. The church committee. Are you running a church committee you only accept it out of guilt? Being part of something at the church that you only accepted that position, that responsibility out of guilt. This one, I have to break this down. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Just hold it for a second. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, and you're in a lot of church activity, I need you to assess whether or not you need to be in all of them. Here's why. As a fellow Christian, I'm going to say this to you. We are obligated to do the will of God, if that's what you want to do. You are not obligated to everything at church, because not everything at church is the will of God. Boom. True. You need to really assess whether or not the work you're putting in is what you should be doing. Now, if God told you to do something, absolutely do it. And if you want to volunteer at the church once in a while, that's great. Do that. But a long-term commitment or a consistent commitment that takes a lot of your time, you really should question first. First, seek God and ask if that's what you should be doing. And part of that assessment is this working towards my goal? Is being in that position going to help me work on my speaking skills? Is being in that position going to help me to work on a skill that I need to work on, or something I've been trying to accomplish or achieve? It might be yes. So then it's within helping you to reach your goals. So the answer would be, yeah, keep doing it. If it's not, what are you doing? This is something I want you to think about. And I'm using church as an example because I know it applies to a lot of people. Whether you call it a church, whether you call it a temple, whether you call it a hall, whatever your religious building is, the same principle applies. Make sure that what you're doing is helping you with your eventual goal, whatever that is. And the good for your image trap. This is something people do a lot. Did you say yes to joining a board that looks good on your resume but brings you no energy and serves no real purpose in your life? You should really consider whether or not you need to be doing that. A pretty weed. A distraction. Because here's the thing. All the energy that you're giving towards that thing that you really shouldn't be giving your energy for, that doesn't help you to move forward, is pulling away from you moving forward. A car. Okay, let me use a bike as an example. If you're driving a bike and you've got nothing on it, you can go faster than if you've got a ton of bricks in the back. It's harder to go. Matter of fact, you might not be able to go at all. Are you carrying weight through obligations that you don't need? And here's why I ask you that. I'm going to get a little more personal in a minute. Your personal life affects your mind, like I said earlier. And your mind affects all your decisions, including your business, including your goals. So here, I want you to think about these three areas and these are just three examples, but I think most things fall under these three categories. Do these three things serve you right now in your life? Are they serving your future? Your relationships, your social activities, and your commitments. Commitments is a little more broad, and it goes across usually both of those. But let's talk about relationships, because that's one of the biggest ones that hold leaders down. It holds us back. When you are, let's say you're lonely, and so you get with a man you shouldn't be with, you know he's not your future. You know you can only be with him for a little while. But you are tired of being alone. You want somebody to go to movies with. You want somebody warm in your bed. You want somebody to make you feel good. So you get with him. That man, he may be a good man. Unintentionally is holding you back because you're not even aligned with him and you know it. I'm using the example of a man with a woman because I'm a woman, but the same thing applies to a guy with a girl, whatever. So when you get into relationships, especially as a leader, you really need to look at, do I have a future with this person? Where I'm headed, can they go with me? If the answer is no, then you've got to go. You really need to look at that. Every single leader, if you do not look at that, you are making a colossal mistake. You are absolutely guaranteed to slow yourself down or hold yourself back, because now you're putting your energy into something that isn't going to go anywhere you want to go. It might go somewhere, but it's not going to go where you want to go. Social activities. I said it earlier. Sometimes we over-obligate ourselves because we feel the need to satisfy other people. It is not your job to satisfy everybody else's social needs. That's not your job. And you need to get out of the habit of thinking that it is. Now, sometimes you have social wants. Nothing wrong with that. You gotta have fun. You gotta exercise and get out there and do things and socialize. But do not feel like you are obligated to go to every networking event. Let's talk about that. As a business, as an entrepreneur, as anyone in business, networking can be great. But is every networking opportunity for you? No. If you look at a networking group and you see that all of those people are on a certain level that you are not, why would you go there? Go on the people who are on your level or higher. And sometimes it's not about higher or lower. It's just about connecting with the people that are aligned with what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go. Be more targeted in what you're networking with. And who you're networking with. It's critical. Otherwise, you'll waste a lot of time, and then you end up feeling discouraged because you get nothing out of it. That makes you feel bad, and that messes with your mental health. And whatever messes with your mental health messes with your future. They are all connected. So commitments. So getting on committees, extra unnecessary work at your church, extra unnecessary work at school, whatever it is. Make sure your commitments are lining up with your future commitment to yourself. I'll say that again. Make sure your current commitments are lining up with your future commitments to yourself. And here's the thing about distractions. What they can do, and I think I've already said this, but they can kill your plans, kill your dreams, kill your goals. If they don't kill those things, they will drain your energy and hold you back from them. They will slow you down. They will eventually discourage you, as I just said. They will bring about an imbalance for you because now you are so focused on this in a good way. You are headed there, you're getting it done, and now you allow this man to come in your life who's taking some of your attention away, and now you've lost your speed. Now you just slow. Now you were running, and now you jogging, and then you start walking, and then you start dragging your feet. Next thing you know, you're sitting down, and you're not going anywhere. And you get back up, walk a little bit, sit down. Why allow someone to stifle you who can't go with you? When it comes to relationships, I'm circling back around to that because I think that's the biggest one. When it comes to your personal relationships in your life, now don't just mean romantic, it could be friendship too. Any of your personal relationships, are they helping you to move forward? And sometimes helping you to move forward can be, this is a friend I hang out with when I need a mental break. That is still a form of actually helping you to move forward, because if you don't get those mental breaks, you will have a mental breakdown. Okay? So that's still a form of it. But if they want to go out every weekend and you can't do that, then now they're taken away. Or if they're so focused on other things that are so way off from what you're focused on, they will eventually pull you down because they're going to take your mind somewhere else. And when you're driving on the road, you got to pay attention to the road or you're going to crash, right? Sometimes people unintentionally will take your eyes off the road. So keep people in your life who can, personal relationships that aren't going to take your eyes off the road. Now, with all of that, I think it's important to always state what the balance of something is. Because just so I'm telling you don't do these things and do that, doesn't mean that you need to go to the extreme of them either. So enjoy your life, have some fun, have your emotions, but don't let your emotions have you. One of the ways you let your emotions have you is you feel obligated to that friend and you feel like you have to hang out with them. If it's going to get in the way of what you're trying to do because it's excessive or it's negative, then no, you don't. You might hurt their feelings, even though you might try to be as nice as you can about it, but at the end of the day, rejection hurts. So they might feel a little way about it. But at the end of the day, are you willing to hold yourself back and hold back what it is you're trying to accomplish and do? You really need, that's a question you need to ask yourself. So here's what I want you to do to apply this to your life. Before saying yes to the next thing. So I'm calling this the future self test. So before you say next to your next thing, ask yourself, will my future self thank me for this? Does this energize the person I am becoming, or does it serve the person everyone expects me to be? Rewind this later and listen to that question again. You need to ask yourself that before you say yes to the next obligation, to the next time you go out with somebody, to the next friendship you're about to encounter. Another thing I want you to do is do the energy test. After you do whatever you said yes to, does it give you energy or does it drain it? Drain it. I don't just mean physical, mostly mental. A priority gives you energy even when it's hard. A distraction in disguise always leaves you feeling drained. So when I say a priority, I mean a real priority. It'll give you energy, even if it's hard, even if you're physically tired because you ran or whatever, you're lifting stuff, whatever. But a distraction always leaves you feeling drained in one way or another, especially mentally. I want you to pay more attention to the mental than the physical when it comes to that. So these are things that I want you to take a look at. Because, why am I talking about this in the leadership series? Because it affects your mental state. It affects your mind as a leader. And we need you to be a healthy leader. We need you to be good. So I want you to take this quote away with you today. Your greatest work can't be done if you're too busy watering weeds. I'm going to say it again. Your greatest work can't be done if you're too busy watering weeds. So your challenge this week is to identify one pretty weed in your life and decide to stop watering it. Just find one. You probably have 12, but just find one for now. You can get to the other ones later. Don't overwhelm yourself. Just find one weed in your life, and stop watering it. So if you are ready to continue this conversation, if you are looking to see what else I do, I have a lot more deeper insights on my website, actually, especially on my audio blog. You can go to